WTQX. The evening wireless.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all ships at sea. This is W.T.Q.X. transmitting on 360 meters, 833 kilocycles on your dial. You are tuned to the Evening Wireless for March 21st, 1926. I am Edwin Allen. Wherever this signal finds you tonight, in parlor, boarding house, or quiet office, we are pleased to have your company. Draw your chair a little closer and allow us to accompany you for the next little while as we consider the events and amusements of the recent weeks. And we thank you, friends, as always, for your kind attention. Earlier this week, in the March 14th edition of the Chicago Tribune, I read an account that gave me thoughtful pause. It reported that Germany, a nation which, before the war, was inclined to smile rather indulgently at our skyscrapers and methods of construction, is now looking almost solely to the United States for architectural inspiration. An exhibition of progressive American architecture, presented traveling throughout the German Republic, has drawn uncommon attention in Berlin. Our buildings, our designers, and Chicago, I note with some quiet satisfaction, is well represented, are being studied with keen and serious interest. Letters from Berlin describe lecture halls filled, articles written in abundance, and German architects offering assistance to the New York committee overseeing the display. What was once regarded as a curious American boldness in steel and height is now examined as something worthy of emulation. But such a development should occur scarcely 8 years after the guns fell silent in Europe is no small matter. Many of our finest young men crossed the Atlantic in sterner circumstances. Some did not return. Others, like my esteemed colleague Colonel Davies, returned having seen at close hand the cost of that conflict. Their service and the sacrifice of the American doughboy must never be spoken of lightly when we reflect upon present cordialities. And yet, the world does move forward. Europe has long been a school of our youthful republic. Our architects, painters, and scholars once traveled abroad to absorb the lessons of older civilizations. We looked to cathedrals and academies with admiration and often with humility. It is therefore a sober but gratifying development to find that our own efforts, born of steel, commerce, and what once was called impatience, are now objects of earnest study in Berlin. Permit me to read a portion of the Berlin Academy's response as printed in the Chicago Tribune. It reads as follows. It may be gratifying to you, as it is to us, to learn that the enterprise of acquainting the German public with the architect down to the cultured layman with this impressive collection of American architectural art promises to meet with warm-hearted response on all sides of the capital of this country. We have endeavored to interpret this collection by arranging for a series of lectures intended to portray as adequately as possible the American spirit which is back of all the material construction, covering the entire period from the early settlements down to the present hour, with its gigantic problem of mastering matter by giving expression to the very postulates of American ideals. You recognize the letter in the indomitable energy with which our American colleagues have undertaken not merely to satisfy the sober needs of modern civilization, but also to make their work an effective instrument in spiritual uplift. Those are generous words. They are also weighty ones. If our structures are to be regarded abroad as expressions of American ideals, then we must ensure those ideals are worthy of export. Height alone does not constitute greatness, nor does novelty suffice in place of character. If former adversaries now examine our work not with indulgent smiles, but with serious attention, it suggests that the exchange of nations need not be confined to commerce or to arms. Ideas may travel where soldiers once did, and leave behind something finer than ruin. It is a hopeful sign when a people recently bruised by war turns its discipline towards art, study, and construction. It is equally hopeful when a young nation, long instructed by Europe, discovers it has something of value in offer to turn. Let us hope that what is built in Berlin in Chicago and elsewhere, stands not merely upon firm foundations of stone and steel, but upon mutual respect. Thank you kindly for indulging those reflections. And now, lest we grow too contemplative, we turn to matters moving at a decidedly quicker pace. Mr. Jimmie Sparks stands ready with the latest developments of the day. Jimmie, if you please.
Here's what the wire has for us. Indiana, young mother sells hooch to feed her children. Woman says she was forced to be a bootlegger after her husband deserted her. I wonder if the kids got their education in speakeasies. Dayton, Ohio. McCready makes record altitude flight at 39,000 feet. Temperature said to be 78 degrees below zero. A bit brisk up there, much like last week in Buffalo. Virginia, Army blimp. T. falls into ocean. The U.S. dirigible landed in the Atlantic after a gas leak. Well, I had thought blimps floated, but now I'm not so sure. Belleville, Missouri. Mayor blushes after reading through jazzy literature. Magazines bought at newsstands caused the mayor and the women's club to declare jazz literature indecent. He likes the mayoral race, but not the racy. Dublin. This year's St. Patrick's Day finally found Ireland on high road to peace. After 2 previous years of disruption, the Irish finally seem ready to celebrate. Not a dry on the island. I can only imagine how they celebrate. Washington, D.C., the 3rd annual National Meat Story Contest being held. Nationwide home economics classes to write essays judged by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I'm not sure what more one can say about delicious meat. St. Louis, burglars. Explain to housewives how to protect homes from thieves. Don't put a note on a front post or mailbox saying you'll be back in an hour. Sound, practical advice for children. That's the flash news for this evening. Back to the desk.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. The world, it seems, wastes no time. We shall now exchange the urgency of headlines for a more considered examination of sport and character. The Colonel joins us once more.
Good evening. The field of sport never tires. Now, friends to the north and of the north. Last week at the Forum, the Montreal Maroons and the Montreal Canadiens engaged in a frozen battle for the very soul of the French-Canadian city. The Maroons carried the day 4-2. In the hands of a player like Mills Stewart, they call him Old Poison, and for good reason. The hockey stick is not a toy. It is a lever of momentum. To see him slat that disc of rubber is to see a titan on skates, a warrior who uses ash and brawn to dictate the terms of engagement. While the Ottawa Senators may still hold the highest ground in the standings, the Maroons have shown us a hardness, a brutal tenacity that shapes a man for the final push. It is the grit of survivors etched in ice. Their hunger for the Stanley Cup is made manifest, and I am very much excited to see hockey's championship series begin shortly. But do not be fooled into thinking strength only wears a sweater and skates. There is a different kind of power in this world, a power not measured in collisions, but in geometry, in fractions of an inch. We saw it this week at the Hotel Pennsylvania in New York, where the wood was not swung, it was gently cradled. In the World 18.2 Balkline Billiards Championship, young Jake Schaefer Jr. did the unthinkable. He took the measure of the old master with a hop, with a display of geometry that was nothing short of a marvel. Where the haughty player uses his stick to conquer through force, the tuxedoed man of the bays uses it to conquer through placement. Every stroke is a calculation of tangents and friction, a smooth, silent motion that guides ivory spheres into perfect union. Schaefer's final tally of 400 to 173 was not just a score, it was a blueprint of a disciplined mind. Whether it is the slap shot of the titan or the smooth touch of the mathematician, you see the pinnacle of human skill, the ability to make an inanimate piece of timber obey the absolute command of the will. In the rink or at the table, skill remains the same. It is the precision of purpose that matters most. Thank you for your attention. I've been Colonel Frederick Davies with The Measure of Men.
Our thanks to the Colonel for that most vivid account. From the fields of contest, we turn now to observations of a different variety, of maintaining a healthy and attractive visage. This portion of the evening's program is brought to you by Tart Root, the powder of 1926.
Ladies, don't you dare show your age today. Wrinkles and creases just get in the way. Mix up a spoonful of lemon juice and Tart Root. Clear skin, light hat, dark boot. Tart Root, feel that tingle on your face. Tart Root, anti-aging style and grace. Rub it on your cheeks and chin. All your age lines it will fix. Tart Root, the powder of 1926. Blackheads and flabbiness, never again. Oil complexions won't blind all the men. 3 cents a treatment at your druggist today, taking all that ugly away. Tart Root, feel that tingle on your face. Tart Root, anti-aging style and grace. Rub it on your cheeks and chin. All your age lines it will fix. Tart Root, the powder of 1926. What is this tart? What can it be? Is it some bark from the side of a tree? Could be. Just wait and see. Tart Root, say goodbye to age. Tart Root, no more wrinkle cage. Lemon juiced with magic root, give those creases all the boot. Tart Root, Tart Root.
And now, from cosmetics counters to culture, Miss Vivian Cross joins us with her customary eye upon the stage and screen. Here she is with the Hollywood Eye.
Hello, my dears. I positively cannot wait to tell you about Lillian Gish, again, as Hester Prynne. What, you may say? How could a stuffy old morality tale possibly move a Barlow like me? Well, I thought the very same. The picture, an MGM production of The Scarlet Letter, is all stern faces and sober bonnets, and I feared a dreadful shortage of sparkle. But then Miss Gish appears, quite as you please, with that blazing scarlet letter upon her breast, and suddenly I could not take my eyes off her. She scarcely moves, she does not plead, she simply endures, and somehow that stillness says more than 1,000 flutters ever could. No jazz, no modern conveniences, and yet I was quite undone. So laugh if you must, my dears, but this biscuit found herself admiring a Puritan. Now, a woman most clearly not a Puritan is our Gloria. Probably there isn't an actress in the motion pictures today who is more talked about than the incomparable Gloria Swanson. As you must have heard, Miss Swanson is leaving famous Players Lasky Paramount to produce her pictures under the management of United Artists, that Pickford Fairbanks Choplin organization. While Gloria still has several productions to make under her own contract, she is already making plans for her United Artists films. They say, and there go those Gloria rumors again, that Miss Swanson's next release will be The Miracle. Gloria will probably play a dual role, appearing both as the Madonna and the Nun. It looks as though Gloria has attained another Ben-Hur for her first independent production. Meanwhile, Gloria is still working for famous Players Lasky Paramount. Her next 2 films will be farce comedies. And now, before I go, I must confess something rather undignified. After all that scarlet embroidery, I find myself in need of a tonic. And that tonic arrived in the perfectly respectable shape of Harold Lloyd. His latest, for heaven's sake, is causing quite the commotion, and I went in prepared to remain composed. I told myself I would smile politely, perhaps chuckle once. My dears, I did no such thing. I was completely in stitches, repeatedly. At one point, I could scarcely keep my eyes upon the screen for the tears. There is something about the earnest face behind those spectacles, so determined, so hopeful. as the whole world seems intent on toppling upon him. He is not smoldering shake. It is not bottle pirates. He simply dashes headlong into catastrophe and somehow comes out shining. I must be honest, admit to you, I simply adore him. Until next week, my sweets, I've been Vivian Cross with the Hollywood Eye.
Our thanks, Miss Vivian. We move now from the flicker of the screen to the quieter but no less important matters of the household and the heart. Miss Diedre is here to lend her counsel with women's concerns.
Good evening, ladies. Tonight's letter comes from a wife who's experiencing a domestic difficulty with an in-law, something I'm sure many of my listeners haven't experienced. She writes, Dear Miss Kildare, I have a darling baby 3 years old and a good husband, that I have an old maid sister-in-law who makes life miserable for me. She tells me that I don't know how to bring up my child. If we dance, she calls us sports. If we play a jazz record, we are low-minded. If I say I'm tired, I am lazy. When I've been up 3 nights and 3 days with my sick baby, she tells me how old and haggard I look. Everything I do and don't do, she criticizes. My husband tells me to pay no attention to her. Yet how can I help it when she comes to my house and irritates me so? What shall I do? Signed, Perplexed Wife. My dear perplexed wife, take your husband's advice. Pay no attention to her. The fault-finding of such a woman is no more to be seriously considered than the yapping of a little dog at your heels. Jealousy and envy are at the bottom of your sister-in-law's criticisms. Jealousy and envy of your youth, of your joy in life, of your husband's love for you and your love for him, of the little arms around your neck. Surely, when you think of that, you can find it in your heart to be sorry for her, in her loneliness, growing old with no one to care for her, with the certainty that no little head will ever lie upon her breast. As long as you live, my dear, there will always be disagreeable people with whom you must have contact. People who do things that get upon your nerves. People who criticize you and say unpleasant things to you. And it depends upon yourself whether you let these people make you miserable or not. You can learn to pay no attention to them, to attach no importance to what they say. Literally, let it go in one ear and out of the other, so that it means absolutely nothing to you. Or else you can brood over it and magnify it, and make such a mountain out of your molehill that it will shut all the sunlight out of your house. Don't do that. Don't fret yourself over what your sister-in-law says or does, and don't worry your husband by repeating her acid remarks to him. Forget what she says. Don't argue with her. Don't try to defend yourself. Any phonograph will run down if not wound up. And remember, there is no such buffer for sarcasm as good nature. It glances harmlessly off those who laugh at it. Cultivate a funny bone in dealing with your disagreeable in-law. You will really enjoy her after you come to see how ridiculous it is that she could ever worry you at all. Yours truly, Diedre Kildare.
Thank you, Miss Diedre, for that thoughtful guidance. Before we conclude our evening's program, a brief word from another generous sponsor of the Evening Wireless. Nipsated iron. It banishes chronic fatigue.
Are you too tired to go out at night? That all-in feeling just ain't right. You're blaming hard work, but we're here to say it's chronic fatigue standing in your way. Chronic fatigue.
Is that true?
Chronic fatigue.
What can we do?
Nuke-sated iron. Nuke-sated iron enriches your blood and feel like a lion. It's organic, just like in your veins. Banishes fatigue and ease your pain. It gives new strength in just 2 weeks. Brings back flush and color to your cheeks. At all good druggists, ask for
away.
Nuke-sated iron, nuke-sated iron enriches your blood and feel like a lion. It's organic, just like in your veins. Banishes fatigue and ease your pains.
Contains Nux vomica and just a dash of strychnine. Will not injure teeth or disturb the stomach. Perfectly safe, we assure you, friends.
Nuke-sated iron, nuke-sated iron. The blood-enriching tonic, worth relying. Step out tonight, feel like a lion. Nuke-sated iron for women and men. Nuke-sated iron, feel alive again.
If you will grant me a final moment before we end our broadcast this evening. We have heard tonight of contests decided by strength and others decided by inches. We have considered tempers mastered rather than unleashed. We have seen upon the screen both the stern reckoning of the Scarlet Letter and the irrepressible courage of Mr. Harold Lloyd, whose indomitable spirit guides us to root for and laugh with him. And earlier, we've reflected upon signs that American architectural forms and methods are finding their way abroad. It strikes me, is not merely movement, but measure. It is one thing for a man to possess strength. It is another to govern it. One thing for a nation to expand its influence, another to exercise it wisely. One thing to laugh easily, another to reckon seriously. This decade is rich in energy. It builds quickly. It entertains boldly. It speaks loudly. But beneath all that vigor lies a quieter question. Have we learned proportion? The athlete must know how much force to apply. The artist must know when to lighten the mood and when to deepen it. The citizen, too, must decide when enthusiasm serves him and when steadiness serves him better. Progress is not merely acceleration, it is balance. If we can couple our speed with judgment, our confidence with reflection, then perhaps this modern age will prove not merely remarkable, but durable. And we thank you, friends, as always, for your kind attention.